All right, so now we're talking college football. We just recorded our NFL preview show with Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. And what I mean by we, me, and that's it, Mark Lawrence is back again on Prime Sports Network after taking, you took a good deal of I would say the later part of the winter and then the spring and the summer, and now you're back.
Yes, I am. It was a little bit of a long time I was off and a few hiccups along the way, but I'm back more eager than ever to get ready for this college football season.
Yes, and then you've got the Playbook Experts channel. Of course, we'll have a link in the description regarding the show you just did, the premiere show for this season, week one in college football. So you, Victor, Jim, and Andy. So you got that all set. It's a good 1 hour plus show. You could check that out. And then also, starting next week, you'll get into the NFL. Once again, we just posted our NFL show, or at least we will post it momentarily. Probably that'll be before we even post this show, the college football preview show, but they're both going to be available in the next 24 hours right here on Prime Sports Network with links to both. So check that out. Don't forget, Mark and I are going to be here every Thursday. I believe we said 4 o'clock Eastern, every Thursday throughout the college football season. So looking forward to that. And this show, again, is all about previewing the season. I'll be on the air tomorrow for a short report just to go over some of the games, and I'm going to talk a lot more about big-time dogs because that's the way I'm going to really start centering most of my attention to. That's where we've been making a lot of our money the last couple of years, on dogs and college football especially, so we're going to zero in on that. We'll talk more on tomorrow's show regarding week one in college football dogs, but first, we want to preview the season. So let's get right to it, Mark. And we're going to start in the group of 5. And, it's taken a few years. And look, we're not going to go into the whole conference realignment thing because we can go on forever. Victor has a good segment on your show about that, so you can tune in for that. But the fact is, the Conference USA has turned into a disaster. I'm not even sure what's going on here. By default, you would think Western Kentucky is just way too talented now that some of the other top teams are gone. Liberty, now that they've got an upgrade, possibly you can say an upgrade, even though, I shouldn't say upgrade, but they have a change in philosophy. They have one coach stepped up to an SEC school, Hugh Freeze, but another coach who did a great job, Jamie Shadwell at Coastal Carolina, now takes over at Liberty. And UTEP actually is starting to look a little bit better now that some of the other top teams are no longer there. So those are the 3 teams that I'm kind of interested the most in the Conference USA. What about you?
Well, the team I'm interested in are 2 of the ones you mentioned, Western Kentucky, the second choice to win the conference here. It's a football team that is always loaded offensively.
Yep.
And nothing different this year. All they're going to do is put points on the scoreboard and say, come and beat us.
They got a very good quarterback prospect, too, by the name of Austin Reed.
There you go.
He's going to have a big year.
I think he's going to have a huge year. In fact, maybe not big enough to make it into the Heisman Trophy talk, but he'll be putting up some big numbers that you'll be hearing about.
Unless they beat Ohio State in a few weeks. Then he'll be in the conversation.
Yeah, they will, but I don't think that conversation is going to happen. The other guy in the conference is the conference choice. That's Liberty, who signed a new head coach in Hugh Freeze. And the one thing I would say about this is that, remember this, Hugh Freeze is a cripple shooter. Every time he plays a team that has a win percentage of less than .333, he murders them. He keeps his foot in the pedal, and that's where he pads his wins and he pads his stats.
Well, Hughes is now with who did he take over at Auburn?
Auburn, yes.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is Freeze did that at Liberty. Okay.
So what you're saying is he what he
was a cripple shooter, and that cripple shooting may not be in effect now that he's gone.
So now you think Liberty's on the way down, maybe?
I think they are. I think it's be hard to fill those shoes. He's no longer there, and he was all about offense as well. I think it's Jamie Chadwell comes over here. Yep, from Coastal Carolina. He had a real nice run over there as well. But I do like this Western Kentucky team. I like them very well. Even when they don't win football games, they're competitive, and it's always right down to a last score type of a thing. So put me down for Western Kentucky on top with Liberty, the place horse inside this division.
All right, the MAC. and just to show you how things have gone poorly in Conference USA, the MAC is actually considered a better conference right now, and that's not. I'm not going to argue that. But it looks like Toledo is just going to be hard to beat because they have a lot of returning talent from last year's team. And last year's team, the win-loss record may not have been great, but I think they were better than that. They have one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. Coach comes back; he's been there for a while. It's going to be real tough to knock off Toledo, even though and that's in the West. I don't think Toledo is going to be beaten in the West. To tell you the truth, I think Ohio is going to be also pretty tough in the East. And the two teams that I liked last year as sleeper teams to maybe outplay the number, I'm sticking with again this year, and that's Bowling Green and Akron. I still think they're going to be a couple of teams to keep an eye on that might be good for a couple of upsets. But I think it's going to be tough to knock off Toledo, and Ohio also looks strong once again.
Yeah, I think those are the two teams that will meet for the MAC championship. They're both loaded with returning production. Toledo ranks number 14 overall in the country. Ohio ranks number 22 in the country. Really, really, really deeply experienced, both of these football teams. The two teams you mentioned, Akron and Bowling Green, they're going to fit your bill more often than not this year as being those, what we're going to label as those big, ugly dogs. But I agree with you. I think Akron has money-making potential this football season here. And I also think Bowling Green does as well. So I'm on the same four teams that you're looking at and the same four teams you commented. The only thing I'm going to throw out there is Toledo's never repeated back-to-back years in the MAC conference. So they'll have to win the conference championship to be able to take that off of their record. They'll be under that pressure. But nonetheless, I see them making the championship game.
Okay. Let's now move on. And like keep in mind, last year again, it was Toledo, Ohio. So I hate to go chalk, but Toledo beat Ohio last year, and I'm kind of going to go with the same. But like I said, I think if we're going to, I'll stick with Bowling Green and Akron if there's going to be a surprise in that division. But I think Toledo's going to go repeat once again.
Well, if they meet, I'll go the other way and I'll play Ohio just for the revenge factor and also put the heat on Toledo to have to repeat for the first time ever.
All right. So there you go. Ohio over Toledo. Now let's go to the Sun Belt. And the Sun Belt has just really turned into a really solid conference. And this is also a conference that really has just gotten better as far as bringing in like the James Madisons of the world. So really like what's going on there. In the East, Appalachian State had just a crazy year last year. They got off to a tremendous start. They had those incredible upset games and incredible finishes. And it's like a war on them. And then they just couldn't sustain it. And they kind of fell flat late. And that kind of opened the gate. Kind of Coastal probably didn't even deserve to win it because, the injury situation to Grayson McCall, and they weren't at their best because Troy and South Alabama, those were the two best teams, really, that represented the West. And I don't see that changing. But I like South Alabama, though. I think Troy lost a little bit more than South Alabama. So I think South Alabama is going to return. Maybe keep an eye on Southern Miss with Frank Gore coming back, and they played well last year. So maybe there's another step there. I think there is. But I'm going to go back to Grayson McCall and Coastal. He's a favorite of mine. I think he's going to be an NFL starting quarterback. And I'm going to say that a lot between now and next year's draft. But other than that, I think you got some other teams to keep an eye on that could make things interesting, like Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Old Dominion, and, of course, James Madison. Who do you like to play in the championship game?
Well, they're having fun in the sun these days. The conference is expanding. It's getting better with talent. They're doing really well in bowl games, largely because other teams can play down to their level, but they take advantage of that. The team I think I have on top to win this conference is South Alabama. The Jaguars bring 18 starters back, number 8 overall in the nation in returning production rankings. You mentioned Coastal Carolina here. With their quarterback back. Remember last year at the end of the season when Jamie Chadwell announced, or the word got out, that he was going to be leaving? Well, they went into the tank. They went 0-3 straight up into the spread out. They would have been favored in all three of those football games even. Well, that's been swept under the rug. That's gone now, and I think the slate is clear for Coastal Carolina again this football season. I make them the second best team in the conference, just in the heels of South Alabama.
Yeah, and I just posted, and you could see it as well. I've got the conference winners. So you're going to go with the same as me, Coastal and South Alabama.
That's correct, with South Alabama winning the championship.
Okay, so we're going to disagree on the champion again, but we're going to have the same two teams. And taking a look at the odds, South Alabama is the little bit of a favorite there over Troy, and Coastal's the third choice. And just taking a look at maybe some long shots. Again, I would probably say Southern Miss at 25-1 might be the one that I would do. Do you see anything on there that looks good to you as a sleeper?
Well, I don't know about a sleeper because the conference is really rather kind of wide open and
Yeah.
even, if you will, in a sense. But the one word of caution I would throw out there, you mentioned, you talked a little bit about Appalachian State earlier, and they're really thin with experience this year, and everybody's going to play them a lot early on name and reputation. And I would be careful the opening month of September. Let them show you that they can play up to that level that they have been in the past. But it wouldn't surprise me if they get out to a slow start.
And then in the MAC, which we already did, you could see Toledo is the favorite, Ohio is the second choice, and then there you've got Bowling Green 28-1, Akron 35-1. And we'll get to the rest. Oh, they have these. I don't know why they have these in this order, but Conference USA, you got Western Kentucky is the favorite, Liberty second choice there. UTEP would be the one odds wise that I would look at 9-1. All right, now let's move on to the Mountain West. And Boise State is going to be awfully tough to beat because offensively they have the two really big talented players coming back in this conference. You know, Taylon Green did a really good job once he was inserted into the starting lineup at quarterback. They took off. They have Holani coming back, one of the better running backs in the conference. So I'm really, how can you not take Boise as a team to beat once again? Air Force is interesting, and don't forget this is an open conference, so there's no divisions. Air Force is going to be interesting because they have an excellent defense. I just don't know about their offense. It's a mystery, but they've got maybe the best defense in the entire conference. I'm a big bowl fan at Wyoming. I just don't know whether or not they have enough talent, skill position offensively. I think San Jose State's going to be solid again. San Diego State, I mean, I was surprised that they struggled against Ohio last week. I expected their quarterback, who looked really good last year, Madden, and he just did not play well. But Ohio, a good defensive team. It's only 1 week. And I don't know about any surprises here, so except Wyoming at 11-1. But I think Boise's going to be tough to beat.
Well, Wyoming's my surprise in the conference as well. Really stacked, 16 starters back, number 13 overall in the country in returning production. I'm going to be a little hesitant about Boise State, if for no other reason. Last year, what they did is they played over 66% of their starts were made by seniors, and they're gone. So now in comes the next wave of, if you will, Broncos coming in here. So they'll be a little bit green a little bit early on in the football season here. The team I like is Air Force. This is a football team that really impresses me, one from a discipline standpoint and two from a defensive aspect. I think if you asked anybody in the country in a bar, you want to win a bar bet and you want to get a free drink, ask who the number one team in the country was last year in overall total defense.
There you go.
It was Air Force, okay? This team, if you take a look at them, they've won 10 or more games the last 3 full seasons in a row. You knock out the COVID season, they're on a run here of 10 or plus wins 3 years in a row. Very well coached football team, very good discipline. I make them the team to beat in this conference.
Yeah, what I want to see from Air Force, and we're not going to get it, unfortunately. I don't even know. See, unfortunately, they don't get anybody out of conference. So especially early on. I mean, maybe we'll find out when they take on Utah State what they're made of, or San Jose State, who, by the way, is going to be my pick in the championship game. How can you not love what Brett Brennan's been doing with San Jose State? They've got their senior quarterback returning. I always think that combination of quarterback and coach is so important. So I'm going to take San Jose State and Boise, with Boise winning it. But like I said, if you take a look at the rest of this conference, it's still going to be Air Force defense. San Diego State's usually all about defense. I'm surprised Fresno's less than 4-1 to win this division. Jake Hayner's gone. Did anybody see how they looked without him last year? I mean, I'm
So
sorry, I just don't think Fresno State should be under. No way would I take those odds at Fresno.
it's a lot of a name and reputation price there. I agree with you on that. But I'm going to put the two altitude teams in the conference game, fittingly in the Mountain West Conference. And I think Air Force will tackle Wyoming in the championship game, and we'll see how that shakes out.
Okay, I love it. And who are you going to have to win it?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to go to Air Force. Just getting there would be a reason enough for Wyoming to celebrate. But I'm all about the disciplined teams in college football and also the running game that Air Force will bring into the contest. So Air Force over Wyoming in the title game.
Okay, so and we both like uh, good sleepers there to play in the game. Wyoming 11-1, San Jose State at 14-1. Not sure if they. I know the Independents, of course. You don't win a championship, so I don't think we're going to get anything here. So Notre Dame, it's all about winning the national championship, of course. And look, we've talked about Sam Hartman for the last couple of years, and I really think this was a great move on his behalf to go to Notre Dame. If not, go pro. But he knows he needs a little bit more refinement. He's going to get an opportunity to play maybe in some bigger games, bigger spotlight. And I think he could be a sleeper NFL prospect because people aren't looking at him as much of a prospect. Okay, he's throwing for a lot of yards and all that, but there's certain things about his game, whether it's arm strength or whatever the case may be, that they're a little down on. But I think this is a great decision. Notre Dame's 28-1 to win the national championship. Maybe that's a nice little. I don't want to say Notre Dame's a sleeper, but to get 28-1 is not a bad idea. What do you think about Notre Dame this year? When you take a look at their schedule, at North Carolina State, at Clemson, they've got to host USC, and they got to host Ohio State. So they basically have to. They can't lose more than a game, but that means they would beat either Ohio State or USC to do that. So if they lose one game, Notre Dame's going to end up in the playoffs. Do you think they can do that?
Well, like you say, those four tough teams you mentioned here, they're going to have to win three of those games. It'd be very, very difficult for Notre Dame to be a two-loss team, an independent team to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, forget that.
Yeah, it would be almost next to impossible. But I'm going to make this prediction. Okay, I'm going to do a Karnak here. Okay, and I'm going to say by the end of the football season, somewhere on some show, you're going to hear this saying out there: Sammy Hartman, Sammy Hartman. Remember the TV show Mary Hartman? Mary Hartman?
Okay, yes, okay.
There we go.
Wow, that's going to, I don't know how many people are going to
catch on to that.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Unless they show clips,
Even that is going to be tough. But there'll be a fraction of the audience that'll get it. Yep. So, yeah, that could be interesting. All right. And as far as the independents are concerned, though, you got Army. And okay, Army, it's going to be interesting this year, though, because they're now going to supposedly throw the ball a little bit more. I'm not so sure. I understand I guess I got to see it to understand what they're trying to do. I didn't like it when they tried throwing the football prior to Monken taking over. So I don't know what exactly he's doing. They're talking more shotgun. So I got to see it to understand what he's trying to do. Other than that, I mean, Connecticut, I think they're headed in the right direction. I think they're going to be even better than they were last year. I think Jim Moore's got something going there. And it was really nice to see Don Brown and UMass get a win on the road. I think that broke a losing streak too. I think they had lost 24 straight road games until their road win at New Mexico State in week 0. So Don Brown, and by the way, I watched that game, a little highlights and more from the game, and their offense actually looks like it's got a pulse at least, and maybe that this isn't going to be a dreadful team.
I think they're going to be a sleeper team this year. Don Brown's a really good coach. They got 18 starters back from last year. And I think all you need to know to confirm that statement is the fact that their season over/under win total is 6.5 wins.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Yeah, that's respectful, and that's coming.
I don't know who they're playing, but yeah,
by the odds maker, right? Exactly. So I'm with you. I think they're a bit of a sleeper team, and Notre Dame obviously the best independent, but I got to make Connecticut number 2.
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I mean, maybe they beat Miami of Ohio at home. That's going to be tough. Arkansas State, Merrimack's a win. Yeah, that's they're getting respect.
Yes,
okay. Now let's talk AAC football because there's movement, and so we'll just talk about the teams that are here. And this is now UTSA territory. So good for UTSA and Jeff Traylor, and they are going to be loaded again. They get their quarterback. Frank Harris has been there for like 17 years, so he comes back. They've got explosive guys in the back, especially at receiver and in the backfield. So this is definitely. I mean, we love UTSA here on this show. You and I have been talking them up ever since Traylor has gotten them going the last couple of years. No divisions, and because of that, I don't think there's any doubt that UTSA is going to end up in the championship game, and they're also going to end up winning it all. I think I think there's a little bit of a downer though this year with some of the top end talent that's gone. SMU will be competitive. Tulane, they lose some key guys, so I don't. But they get the quarterback back. That's huge. Once again, coach, quarterback. So Tulane, that'll be interesting to see what happens after that miraculous year last year, including beating USC in a bowl game, which is just incredible. I guess sleepers. I would probably look at, you know what, the two teams, and I've said it last year, and I've said it the last 2 years, and they actually showed it last year, and I think they're going to show another gear, and that's Rice. Because Rice brings in Daniels, the transfer, the quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback like this for, I don't know, forever. So I think Rice is going to be better. And I also like Temple. I think Temple's on their way. I really do. They got Kurt Warner's kid. We talked about that last year. So Temple and Rice would be my sleeper teams. But I also think that UTSA is just the class of this conference.
I echo that UTSA sentiment all the way. I think they are going to win this division or this conference. Frank Harris, he was the player of the year in the Conference USA. I don't see anything being different as they move into this conference this particular year. My sleeper team would be Florida Atlantic, a team that's loaded with 19 starters coming back. They went 5-7 last year, lost their final 2 games of the season. Otherwise, they would have been bowl eligible. And with 19 starters coming back and remembering that, I think they're going to be focused this year. And I think the biggest bust in the conference is going to be Tulane, the team that won it last year. And the reason I'm on the anti-Tulane bandwagon this year is they were the most improved team in college football last year. They had won 12 games after winning 2 games the previous year. You don't see teams that do that come back even smelling anything close to what they did the year before. They were 4-2 in one-score games last year. Don't be surprised if they're 2-4 in one-score games this year.
Yeah, and again, like I said, they lost so many key guys, especially on defense. One of my favorite players actually that left the team on defense, and they are. Matter of fact, I think he's playing for the Bills now in the NFL. But you talk about FAU getting Tom Herman. I mean, wow, what a coup!
How nice is that, huh?
Yeah. So and now check this out. So Herman's there for his first year. Brian Newberry takes over at Navy. That surprised me that they moved on. I thought that they should, but I just didn't think it was going to happen because Navy just a few years ago, they were like this juggernaut every year. But it's been like, 3 straight years now that they've gone down the hill. And so they make a move and this defensive coordinator Newberry takes over. Okay, first year. Eric Morris, North Texas, first year. Then we go to Trent Dilfer. That's right, Trent Dilfer, first year, head coach at UAB. We got Biff Poggi, first year, Charlotte. And we've got Alex Golish, first year, South Florida. I'm not done yet. Kevin Wilson's back, first year, Tulsa. I mean, this is first year heaven as far as head coaches in the AAC.
I'm glad you called that out. I didn't realize that. I'd read about all those coaches, and I realized that some teams had made changes, but I didn't realize it was that many. That's really, really insightful. And some teams that have experience, I think, can take advantage of something like that.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic, by the way, is 6-1, so they're one of the 5 contenders. Tulane is the favorite. But I agree with you. Forget that. Not at 2-1. UTSA, we both like them. So you can have UTSA and FAU in the championship game?
That's who I'm going to put there, Tom Herman against Traylor. I think that's a big heck of a coaching matchup in the championship game.
And you have UTSA winning it?
Yes, I do.
All right. I don't want to go chalky because I think SMU is also going to be competitive. Year two under Lashley. They're really high in this quarterback, Preston Stone, even though they lost Mordecai to Wisconsin. But I got to see it. I don't know. Maybe, but obviously they're high in this kid. So keep an eye on this Preston Stone for SMU. But because, and Memphis, I mean, Seth Hennigan's been there forever too. So he's going to be always, they're always going to, be dangerous. But I'm going to go ahead. I guess I'll roll the dice and be a little bit more nuts. And in a kind of wide open conference, I'll take Temple as my sleeper, real big sleeper, to play in the championship game against UTSA. But we both like UTSA to win it. Okay, now let's go to the Power Five, the big boys. We'll start in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 is not going to be the Pac-12 really the way we know it for much longer. But there are still some legitimate teams here, at least for one more year. So you have USC, and you've got all the hype surrounding Caleb Williams, and this is their year, and so forth and so on. Oregon is going to be dangerous. Bo Nix has been a transformed quarterback ever since he left Auburn to go play for Oregon. Utah, the defending champs, get Cameron Rising back for another year at quarterback. So you got coach quarterback. And then Washington comes back this year, year number 2 under DeBoer, and they get Michael Penix back. So that is some really tough top 4 teams. And then, of course, Oregon State is the one that I've just been in love with Jonathan Smith, as you know, the last few years. And he broke out last year. And I see no reason to believe that they won't even be better this year at 11-1. So UCLA 14-1. They lose their quarterback and a lot of other players. But this is going to be a very entertaining conference to follow.
The upper half of the conference for sure
half,
will.
yes.
Yes, it will. There's some really quality teams there. I believe USC. I think they're going to make it to the college football playoff this year. Personally, okay.
Okay.
Remember last year when the final polls closed, Pac-12 had 6 teams in the top 20. Nobody made the playoff, but 6 teams nonetheless. The guy that's supposed to win it this year, Southern Cal, 17 starters back, number 10 overall in the country in returning production rankings. They're going to be very, very difficult to beat. The biggest challenge, I think, might come from the defending champion Utah Utes, who are always well coached, number 22 overall in returning production. And you can never rule out Oregon. But I'm going to put Oregon State in for my sleeper team.
Yeah.
For a lot of the reasons you just mentioned here, and the coach as well. I think Oregon State ends up being the sleeper. And what happens if they make the championship game? They'll be the verified sleeper in the Pac-12.
All right, I love it. Rolling the dice with Oregon State. And by the way, their schedule is really good as far as being able to make it because all their tough games are at home, except the Oregon game, which is the last game of the season. So the schedule works out perfectly for them to be able to be put in that position. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take, I guess I'll be boring and go Oregon and USC, but I love your Oregon State pick, obviously, being a big, I'm almost like a transported Oregon State fan, the way that I've been rooting for them. By the way, long shots, Washington State and Arizona. Those are the 2 teams. Because remember, last year you were high on them as a sleeper, as a dark horse, and they lived up to that. And the quarterback's back. And Arizona, we keep waiting for them to win that big upset, and it's coming this year. I think they're even going to be, once again, an interesting sleeper. So those are the 2 teams to keep an eye on. And Stanford has a new head coach.
Well, I don't know if it's going to help them any at all.
No, I don't think so.
They're part of the. That was like an also mention.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like an also ran in the race,
Yeah. All right. So you have USC over Oregon State.
I have USC over Utah, but Oregon State.
Okay.
Oregon State being the number 3 team in the conference.
Excellent. All right. And I'm going to have actually Oregon over USC. Okay. Now let's go to the Big 12. And in the Big 12, this is getting interesting. Next year, we'll talk about a different conference. But Texas is the even money favorite. Oklahoma, I don't know what to expect from Oklahoma. Venables had a disappointing first season. Kansas State, that's another program that we're real high on. Chris Kleinman, we both love what he's doing there. And they're now one of the favorites. Texas Tech's getting better every year. TCU's definitely going to take a step back. Baylor's always interesting. Now you have UCF is in the conference, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston. So it's a crazy looking deal. Kansas had a hell of a season. Another coach we love, and Leipold. So what do you think? Is it going to be Texas, Kansas State? Who do you like?
I like Oklahoma to win this year. They're a mission team,
Ah,
if you will, coming off that rare losing season last year. About to leave the conference here, obviously for the Southeast Conference. I think they're going to make a statement this year.
okay.
Even though they had that down year last year, they do recruit real well. There's a lot of talent coming back for this team. I think Texas is going to be vastly overrated once again this year.
Yeah.
Kansas State is a very nice football team, and they check a lot of boxes. But my sleeper team in this conference is the Kansas Jayhawks.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
Number one overall in the country in returning production ranking. Number one. That means they go as deep as any team does in the country. That means first and second, too deep they go. 17 starters back. No back-to-back road games for Kansas here.
Yep.
I think Leipold gets the job done for this team, and I think they're going to be very sneaky good.
Yeah. Do you have them in? Did you say you have them in the championship game, or just
Uh,
a sleeper like
let,
Oregon State?
let's put them in the championship game.
Put them
Absolutely.
in.
Yeah, put them
I
in.
love it.
Yeah,
Why
we're going to
not?
put them in.
They
Right.
should take that next step,
Yes.
and that's going to be and the 35-1 to win the conference.
There
So
you
they're
go.
not getting any respect. And Iowa State, they have just 80-1. What's happened to Matt Campbell's Iowa State program? So, I don't know about that. I would think that there's going to be a rebound there at Iowa State. And I also think another sleeper to keep an eye on is Oklahoma State. So I'd keep an eye on Oklahoma State. Gundy always seems to have that team, outplaying expectations. And I think that they're going to be an interesting team this year. They're 40-1 right now. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and Texas Tech is also. I don't want to forget
Yeah.
about them. They're on the rise.
They're
Uh,
my number two sleeper team. Right.
okay, yes. So, but I'm going to go ahead and say Kansas State. Tell you what, I'll say Kansas State and Oklahoma State, with
There
Kansas
you
State
go.
winning. Um, but yeah, Kansas State, of course, did it last year, and they kind of spoiled things by beating TCU undefeated, and But I think that they're going to be tough to beat again, and they're just getting better each year. Okay,
So,
ACC.
let me get this right here. We've got the Oklahomas and the Kansases both in the championship
I
game.
like it.
You have the states, and
Yes,
I have the
I
non-states.
didn't
Yep.
notice that.
Yep.
Yes, there
There
you
we go.
go. All right.
Yep. Okay.
Well, that what that means? That means one team from yours and one team from mine. So
That's cool.
yeah. Okay, and then in the ACC this year, you have Clemson still the favorite, but Florida State. Look at that; they are almost as equal as Clemson. So the catch up has finally happened. It's all going to come down to Klubnik, the quarterback, the young quarterback at Clemson, because Clemson's defense is going to be fantastic again, and they've got the running game. The problem is they have to figure out if they have a weapon at receiver, and they've got to figure out if they got quarterback play. Because if they don't, if Klubnik is just okay, then that's just not good enough. But because Florida State has Travis, and they're just getting better every year under Norvell, so they're going to be tough to beat Florida State. So I don't see Florida State regressing in any way, shape, or form. The question is it going to be chalk, or do you have a sleeper in the ACC?
Well, I'm gonna say that I think Clemson, obviously, Dabo Swinney is mad as hell, but he's also Dabo Swinney, and everybody wants to take him down. I like North Carolina real well this year. A big Drake May fan.
Yep.
Uh, this is a football team that's got 18 starters back from last year. They've only got 4 true road games.
And they're 12-1.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a value play there.
And
Okay,
they might have the number 2 pick in the draft.
they might exactly. Yep, he was going to be on the cover of the magazine. I told you the story of the Playbook magazine. Our guy had them all laid out, ready to go, rock and roll, and all that. And then we started hearing that he was thinking about transferring
Yeah, that
into
would have
the
been.
transfer portal, and we
Yeah.
couldn't put Drake May on there if he was playing at Auburn.
No, that wouldn't have worked. No.
No, it wouldn't
That
have
would
worked.
have looked a
So
little bad. Yeah.
we had to make the change. But anyway, I also think my sleeper team inside this conference this year is going to be Miami of Florida. A
Okay.
football team that really took it on the chin last year. A lot of heat, deservedly so, on the head coach there. and they've
But
got a
why would
ton of.
he? I mean, in his first year, what are they giving him? What are they giving him the business for in year
Well,
one?
because they hocked the future for him. They're paying him
So they
as
want
well as him.
immediate results.
Well, when you pay that much money, I think you
Yeah,
do,
I know.
and you want at least as good as you were, or some sign of improvement, not a tank job like they had last year. And I
Well,
also
the
think,
quarterback play was the issue, wasn't it? Most of all, because
yeah, it
everybody
was.
expected Van Dyke was going to take the next step, and he was like a disaster. Is he going to be the guy this year?
Yeah, he's going to be the guy this year. And you know what? When I saw him a couple of times last year, he didn't even look remotely close to being NFL ready.
Yeah,
But he was also hurt last year. So let's see if we got a healthy Tyler Van Dyke.
big difference. Yep.
I think they brought a new offensive coordinator in, I believe, and a lot of good depth on this defense and this football team. 18 starters. I got to make them the sleeper team in the conference.
Yeah, Shannon Dawson takes over.
There you
He
go.
was Houston's offensive coordinator the last 3 years. So yeah, again, look, that's all it's about to me. Is because I think Cristobal is going to do a fantastic job at Miami. I do. It's going to take a little time. And Van Dyke, they could speed up the process if he has a big year this year. I think North Carolina State could be a sleeper at 20-1 because they have Brennan Armstrong,
Yes, they
and he's
do.
reuniting with his offensive coordinator who was with
Yep.
him when he had his breakout year at Virginia, his breakout 2 years at Virginia. And how about Duke? Duke was one of those teams that we just jumped on early in the season last year, as you remember, of course, and we rode them, and they did such a great job, and the quarterback is back, and I think at 40-1, I think they're just going to keep getting better as well. So
Duke
they're
is knocking on the door. It was them or Miami for my sleeper team. And in fact, in our Playbook Weekly Football newsletter, the first full one of the season this year, we're calling Duke to beat Clemson in that first football game.
wow, that is actually when Saturday.
I believe it's Monday, isn't it? Or Sunday or Monday? It's Sunday or Monday.
Oh, it's the 4th, so
Let
it's
me see.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday. I think it is the last game
All
on the
right,
card. Yes.
awesome. I love
Yes.
it because that's a home
So
game. I
if
love
they
it.
do that, they'll look like a sleeper deluxe.
All right, so that would you know what the line is?
Yeah, we're taking double digits there.
Okay, that's all I need to know. That might
Yep,
be
that's all.
a dog play right there.
Exactly.
All right, so who do you have winning the championship?
I'm going to put. It's a little bit to go out on a limb here, and I don't want to put one of my sleeper teams in that championship game. I'm going to say North Carolina
Over.
over Clemson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to take FSU, and I'm going to take FSU. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and go that route with you. I'm going to take North Carolina, but I'm going to take FSU over North Carolina, and you're going to take North Carolina over Clemson. Okay.
You know, let me backtrack, okay?
Oh.
Let me backtrack.
Okay.
If I can have a mulligan, okay?
Of course.
I'm going to throw Clemson out. I'm going to put Florida State in the title game with you.
All right, so we're going to have different winners, same teams.
Yes.
All right. So we both don't have Clemson in the ACC title game.
That will be for the third year in a row they will miss the college football playoff.
Yeah. They won't be seeing that again until maybe the playoffs expand in 2024. Right. All right, now let's get to the Big Ten. Michigan and Ohio State are basically, as they should be, co-favorites. As a Michigan fan, I've been defending Harbaugh the last couple of years, ever since he decided to wake up and stop playing that spread nonsense that just wasn't him. And he went back to basics. And ever since then, they've been playing Harbaugh football. Problem is, after 2 straight years, I think it's going to catch up to him. Unless J.J. McCarthy has another gear. And I don't know if he does. If he does, they win. If he doesn't, then I think it's going to be down. I think Penn State is going to be in the championship game. Now, whether Ohio State or Michigan's in that championship game or not, of course, because if you look at it, actually, because the divisions are still remain the same, because I know they talked about not having it, but since the divisions stay the same, I'm going to have Penn State, and in the West, everybody's talking about Wisconsin because you've got the new coach, you've got the new high-flying coordinator bringing in Mordecai, and they're going to throw the football at Camp Randall, which is the craziest thing that I've ever seen. But they're going to do it. So more power to Wisconsin. And because of that, I think that's going to be enough. I think it's going to be Wisconsin and Penn State in the Big Ten championship game.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on record and saying Michigan will not take Ohio State down 3 years in a row.
Okay.
One of the writers in our newsletter had a great line in the newsletter talking about Ohio State and Michigan. And the line was, if you breathe, no, it was, if you hate Michigan, you don't breathe if you hate. Let me say this again. Breathe if you hate Michigan. Okay.
Okay.
That's what they're saying around
Nice.
Columbus. Breathe if you hate Michigan.
That's pretty much how it is. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't see them beating them 3 years in a row. Buckeyes number 2 red zone offense last year. Their problem was their red zone defense. The defense didn't even come close to what they were in the past. That's got to get shored up with this football team here. Number 38 overall in returning production here. I've got them beating out Michigan in that final game of the season to win their division.
Okay.
And I think they do take on Wisconsin in the championship game. And Ohio State wins this game en route to the college football playoff.
Okay. Yeah, look, it's all going to depend on McCord. And just like we said with some of these other quarterbacks, we really don't know. We're not going to know until, maybe we'll find out tomorrow because, Saturday against Indiana. Because Indiana is not awful, but we'll see. But we're really not going to know until the Notre Dame game on September 23rd. Here's the problem with Ohio State's schedule. At Notre Dame, at Wisconsin, at Michigan. Those are 3 really tough road games that they have to play. And playing Wisconsin at Camp Randall, that might be a rematch if they play, in the championship game. I would look out for Illinois as a sleeper. I don't think they're getting any respect at 30-1. I talked about them last year, and they sure lived up to it. Minnesota is another interesting sleeper at 40-1. So if something just doesn't work with this passing game right away at Wisconsin, then I think everything's wide open. And I think you could see an Illinois, a Minnesota. But the problem is any of those teams get into the championship game against Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State, then, we're going to probably see what we always see in the championship game in that sort of situation. And that's the East dominating the West.
Probably so. I mean, you got the 2 big boys over there. Penn State, I think James Franklin chokes again. He's got so much talent. I don't know if he'll be able to handle it. But I think Ohio State will be playing with a vengeance this football season after last year.
All right. And then finally, the SEC. So the biggest conference of them all. And Georgia. Can Georgia do it again? They're trying to pull an Alabama. But even Alabama, I'm not sure Alabama never won 3 straight, right?
3 straight
championships, national championships, right? They never won 3 straight, right?
Well, it would be Georgia that would do it if they won it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying Alabama's never done it. So
nobody's ever done it. Okay.
Oh, nobody's ever done it. Okay.
No.
Yes, that's the problem. I think you lose your savvy veteran quarterback, and I know they like this Beck kid, but having that savvy veteran quarterback, look, offensively we know what they're going to do, but they're probably going to get to the championship game or the playoffs, excuse me. But those big games and those big moments without that savvy veteran leadership, I'm not so sure they're going to be able to do it again. So it'd be tough I just think you're throwing your money away, to tell you the truth, to try to go even money on a team to win 3 straight championships. If you think they're going to do it, then just wait. Why put money on a -115 in September?
No, it's ridiculous. They reside in the strongest conference in all of college football. You're asking them to come out of that conference to do it again after their team was raided last year in the National Football League draft. They lost more players than any team in the country. They'll be targeted like they've never been targeted before.
And remember, if Ohio State's field goal kicker hits the field goal, they lose.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Or wasn't that the game when Marvin Harrison Jr. got
yes,
and
he got hurt in the game? Yes.
Yeah, and they didn't call targeting.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Targeting and Georgia's done. You know what I mean? Yep.
So and that's why it's tough to win 2 straight, let alone 3 straight.
Exactly right.
So who do you like? You have in the East, you of course got Alabama. Everybody's talking up Texas A&M again. And yes, they're going to be talented. I just don't know whether or not it's going to work there right now because they're paying everybody is what they're doing. But LSU, Brian Kelly loved the move last year. We talked about that. They surprised a lot of people. I see no reason to think it's going to stop. I'm actually taking LSU to win the division. And the question is, can Tennessee take that next step? I can't count on Joe Milton, until I see it. I got to see it to believe it first. So I'm going to go Georgia and LSU.
Well, I'm going to go Alabama and LSU. This is a really, really strong West
Well, they're in the
Division
same
here.
division.
Yeah. Who did I say? Alabama
And LSU.
and Georgia. I'm
So
sorry.
you're going to go Alabama, Georgia?
Yes, real chalky for the championship.
Well, you got to go
But
chalky in the SEC. I mean,
yeah, but I'm going to play Alabama because I
Okay.
think Alabama goes to the college football playoff this year. They missed it for the first time ever since the college football playoff happened last year.
Okay.
Nick Saban, when he comes off of a two-loss season with Alabama, he's 88-8 the next years.
Well, that's not bad.
No, and if I'm going to put a sleeper team on all this, it's going to be the guy who I love to knock, but I think he's got too much talent. I think he'll find a way not to blow it this year, and I think Texas A&M rises to the occasion this year with 20 starters back from that football team.
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher on one of the hottest seats of all of college football. I don't think he can help but win more than he's expected to win this year.
Well, I'm going to interview Gary Furman next week when Texas A&M travels to Miami. Gary Furman, of course, covers Miami Hurricanes football, so that is going to be a huge game for both teams. A&M gets Alabama and Tennessee in back-to-back weeks. But by the way, Lane Kiffin, he has a load of talent coming back at 45-1. KJ Jefferson's back at Arkansas. I'm a big KJ Jefferson fan. Unfortunately, he's in the wrong division, just like Hugh Freeze taking over at Auburn. And Hugh Freeze is going to get the job done there. It's going to take a couple of years, but he's going to get the job done there. Unfortunately, the situation at Mississippi State is kind of tragic. And the head coach, they decided to stay with him, the assistant, and I don't really like when that happens, but I think it's going to be a down year for Mississippi State. But Tennessee, it's going to be all whether Joe Milton can find his game and finally live up to the hype. Everybody talks about his golden arm, but I have to see it to believe it. The one team that I'm interested in the most, and by the way, Kentucky gets Devin Leary, the NC State quarterback, so that should be interesting there. The team that I'm interested in is going to be in that division is going to be South Carolina. Love the way they played at the end of the season last year. I don't think they're getting any credit at 100-1. I think they're getting no credit. I know they lost some key pieces, but the quarterback's back. So and let's not forget, this is a team that knocked off Tennessee when they were undefeated and Clemson in back-to-back weeks. That's something that like the program had like never done before, and they did it in back-to-back weeks, and that was just an amazing accomplishment. And then they went the distance and lost the bowl game to Notre Dame. So as usual, it's a very deep SEC, and even Missouri could be an interesting team to watch this year. But I think even the depth itself this year is going to be better than it's ever been.
I think so too. If I'm going to make a sleeper team in the East, I'm going to make it Kentucky. I'm a huge Mark Stoops fan. I like a lot of what goes on there. He's never very seldom out coached at all.
And like I said, he gets Leary now, who I know
Uh,
they had
uh,
Levis, but their offense last year was not very good. So they might have a better offense this year to go along with that good defense.
exactly, exactly. So put me down for Alabama to win the championship.
Okay.
Make Texas A&M the sleeper on their side, and Kentucky the sleeper in the East Division.
And I'm going to go ahead and take LSU over Georgia. And then your four playoff teams.
My playoff teams that I've got playing in the college football playoffs this year. Let me see. I had them all marked down here, and they appear to look like da 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 da. Da. Okay, here
Well,
we
you
go.
definitely have Alabama, and you have Ohio
Alabama,
State.
Alabama, Ohio State, Southern Cal, and LSU.
Oh, so LSU is going to make it, even though they'll lose to Alabama in the division.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that'll be that would be. I'm sure there'd be a lot of people who will be uh, not happy about that. The
Yes.
SEC
Exactly.
bias. But I
Right.
could see that happening. That's something that definitely could happen. I don't disagree with that. And then who's your? Do you have a sleeper, a national championship sleeper?
Yep, 70-1, Wisconsin Badgers. You mentioned Mordecai, the quarterback coming in, 18 starters back. Luke Fickle taking over a major football program here. I think he's an excellent hire for that that program here. He'll get them out of the plodding running game here, open things up a little bit. His teams always play really good defense. I make Wisconsin a sleeper at 70-1.
Okay, and who is going to be playing in the championship game in college football?
I
And
think we've
who's going
got
to
the
be
same
winning it?
old, same old Alabama, Ohio State.
Oh no, no,
There
don't
we
say it.
go.
Come on
Yeah.
now.
And I think Nick Saban finally gets the monkey off his back. I think he wins the championship again this year.
Alabama over Ohio State. All right, and Wisconsin's the sleeper at
Yes.
70-1. All right. Well, I'm going to take. I'm going to have LSU, Penn State, Kansas State, and Oregon are going to be the four teams that I'm going to put in the playoffs. And Oregon is probably a pretty high pick, I would think, to win. We're taking a look at the odds. By the way, Alabama's 6-1 to win the national championship. So those aren't bad. The old days, they used to be where Georgia was at 2-1.
Exactly right.
Ohio
There's
State at
value.
7-1.
What is Ohio State?
7-1.
7-1. There you go.
And USC is 16-1. And LSU is 11-1. I have Penn State at 22-1. I have K State pulling a TCU and getting in. Where's K State? They're at 100-1. No respect. And Oregon is the other team, as I mentioned, at 40-1. And as far as the championship, I'm going to go ahead and take LSU versus Oregon in the national championship game. And I am taking LSU to win it all.
I could have told you that you were going to take LSU when you made those two teams 40-1. Does it?
Oh, the other two teams, you mean?
Yeah. Who was 40-1?
Well,
Was it
Oregon 40
Oregon.
and Kansas State 100. Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
So it was down to Penn State and LSU. And yeah, James Franklin's not winning a national championship.
No.
I think the Big Ten is about as far as I'll go. All right. So there you go. I'll talk more about this on the show tomorrow. And who knows? Maybe I'll even put this as part of the show tomorrow because I'm going to do a real short, condensed report just to go over the games week one. But I'm going to close out here. Mark, once again, Playbook Experts YouTube channel. Every Wednesday, the show will be recorded and posted usually on Wednesday night or Thursday mornings. So appreciate it as always, Mark. And I'll talk to you again next Thursday and every Thursday here to talk college football.
Hey, I look forward to it, Greg. Be well, stay safe, and have a great week.
You too.